Hello everyone, I'm Porma and I hope you enjoy this video. Today I'm going to be talking about Blackface. I want to let you know that Blackface in and of itself isn't bad. Every time I see a hit piece or a veiled attack masquerading as news, I feel a little chuckle deep down. So let's have a quick look at some examples. So here we have The Guardian not only calling him out as racist, but somehow managing to contradict itself in just 3 sentences. Vox goes the extra mile to explain in detail why Blackface is terribly wrong. Vox is able to comfortably speak as a representative of all minorities. Therefore, you must listen to them. CNN goes straight for the jugular, essentially saying people who wear the wrong shade of makeup are racist, and thus worthy of social persecution, all whilst touching on the very issue I'm here to discuss. So sit back and relax whilst I take you on a little journey. The problem, or rather, how we got here. Blackface performances, also known as minstrel shows, became common performing acts in circuses and travelling shows towards the end of the 18th century. These performances, to be frank, were often lazy caricatures of black slaves, very offensive, uninspired, and if compared to a modern equivalent, I would compare them to
Reddit text-to-speech YouTube channels.
The characters were generally uneducated, mimicking real slaves who themselves were starved of an education by their slave masters. These performances offered a false yet intriguing view into the life of black people, and thus were a great way to spread some stereotypes amongst the population. Fast forward to the 1820s, and here we find an up-and-coming minstrel performer trying to find his big break, Thomas D. Rice, who is quite visually appealing, I must say. He decides to steal a performance from an unnamed old black guy. More than just a performance, he stole the character from their song too. Thomas D. Rice's act was transformed, and he was now Jim Crow. Jim Crow's acts became more and more popular with their target demographic, and whilst it must be said their performances were racist by intention, the popularisation also had many long-lasting benefits that often get overlooked. People like characters, but at least the good characters, with the common theme of these performances being slice of life with comedic additions. Many audiences were unknowingly endeared to blacks and started to recognise their humanity. This shift in view can be shown by a minstrel group that was popular during the 1840s. This lot of racists, Dan, Dick, Frank and Billy, were known as the Virginia Minstrels, and whilst they were most definitely racists, as most people were back then, their popular songs do show how people were now starting to attribute actual intelligence to black people, something rarely done before. Let's have a quick look at an example. Blue Tail Fly is one of their songs, which again, I must be clear, is racist. What I find interesting is the contents of the song and its later renditions. Originally, in 1846, as performed by its creators, the Virginia Minstrels, Blue Tail Fly doesn't have much I can point out as progressive for the time period. However, the closing verse does show us a little glimpse of what stereotypes were being lifted off of black people by these racist minstrel groups. Can you tell what it is? I will leave the lyrics up on the screen for a moment. From what I could find, up to this point, minstrel performers often relied on comedic slice of life style shows. Have that be a slave relaxing at the end of the day by turning his brain off, literally, or celebrating the wonders of modern technology, all whilst pushing the slave dialect to a heightened comedic level. During these times, not everyone had slaves, despite what current year SJWs will tell you. Slaves were a product for the well-off, not every white guy around. Poor farmers, with a small family, chances are they couldn't afford a slave. They relied on hearsay, brief interactions, and minstrel shows to form their opinions on blacks. With minstrel shows only showing the heightened stereotypes, the obvious conclusion is that these stereotypes would inevitably spread. Racism was being created in the minds of people who had no practical way or desire to challenge their own beliefs. Blue Tail Fly, however, includes 3 lines in its closing verse that subtly told the American public, maybe, just maybe, black people are capable of knowing stuff. The song, which was very popular at the time, was out there in the wild, breaking down stereotypes. To continue with this song, if we look at a song collection, also known as a book, that was published in 1850, just 4 years after the Virginia minstrels' first performances of Bluetail Fly, we can see that the lyrics have been updated. I cannot attribute the update to the Virginia minstrels, as the collection of songs performed by another group. Unfortunately, their name is not safe for YouTube. We can see that 2 additional verses have been added at the start. These verses show that the black character in this song is practically a junior insect ecologist. I understand that this is a little stretch, but imagine you have been told all your life that black people are dumb, inferior animals, and then you sit down with your friends and watch that. The gossip will spread and stereotypes change. Remember, this is still a decade before Lincoln comes onto the scene in regards to slave right, no, black, no, minority, no, darker than olive skin. Yeah, darker than olive skin rights. Blackface, whilst created with the intent to stereotype blacks for monetary gain, had the long-term effect of familiarising people with their new countrymates in a non-confrontational, purely voluntary fashion. Now, I'm going to skip from here to the 20th century, because for the next 140 years, the opinion of black people was pretty progressive amongst the non-elite American population, for the time at least. Following the Civil War, black people could now get into positions of power, but of course they still faced persecution from the South. But there isn't time to talk about that in this video. If you would like to see me go over the American Civil War and its long-term effects, just let me know in the comments below. Going into the 20th century, blacks in America still had a long way to go. There were many white supporters of black rights by this point, however there was still a steep hill to climb. This takes me on to my first example of who I believe to be somebody who wasn't racist, but did take full advantage of his white privilege. Al Jolson. Jolson started his blackface performances in 1927, after ending his stage show career. What made him different, however, was he actually socialised with black people. He didn't just observe them to gain comedic bits or new lyrics like many of his contemporaries. Jolson, due to being white, handsome and already in the business, was able to bring blackface to the masses in a less offensive way. Just like the Bluetail Fly song I mentioned earlier was able to slightly alter the status quo without any pushback. The best example of this, I believe, would be Jolson's blackface performance in the critically acclaimed movie, The Jazz Singer.
Smiling at me, nothing but little blue signs do I see.
Now, something you need to know about America at this point, it is still very conservative. Jazz was a no-go. That was music for blacks only. Just take it from Harry Anslinger, the Commissioner for the Federal Bureau of Narcotics, who said that jazz sounded like, and I quote, the jungles in the dead of night, and that it could, and again I quote, lure white women. Paranoid much? But it does demonstrate that public opinion of jazz wasn't high. It was linked with black people, and if black people are bad, then jazz must be too. But then here comes Al Jolson, in his blockbuster playing a jazz singer, singing too, using the same cues, techniques and style of jazz. Due to the disarming fact that the person under the makeup is white, people let jazz into their hearts with less prejudice. Next thing you know, everyone likes jazz and it's an American staple. That concludes my little history journey. Now I'm going to conclude with why we need blackface more than ever in current year. I understand that some people may be offended when they see someone dressed as a caricature. There isn't much defence for this practice. However, what has been done in recent years is to lift the term blackface from offensive caricature performances as discussed in this video and apply them to any situation in which a person uses makeup or other products to change the tone of their skin, regardless of the intention and outcome. For example, as shown at the start of the video, Justin Trudeau was in a little pinch when it was discovered that he was racist. Oh wait, he's not. It was discovered that he dressed up as Aladdin? What? Sorry, is this news? Yes, so newsflash, Aladdin isn't white. Trudeau improvised. His outcome? Let's just say 14-year-old cosplayers could do it better, but it doesn't make him racist. It doesn't make his blackface morally wrong, it just means he is terrible at getting his desired complexion. Makeup channels did not exist in the 90s. A lighter, more acceptable use that was challenged recently by the morally astute of our society was a product released by Disney. Remember these? Disney wanted to sell merchandise to go along with their movie, Moana, a movie which is entirely based around Polynesian culture. There is nothing racist or offensive, objectively, about little kids dressing up to resemble characters they admire. If society could just get over this little hurdle, we would be closer to true equality. For society to become truly equal, we need to stop finding reasons to separate us. We all, well, most of us, would like to see a truly homogenous society. Not in the sense that we all eat the same food and drive the same car, but in the way that we can all mimic, mock, laugh at, enjoy, celebrate and discuss features of our unique cultures and races without feeling the need to get someone deplatformed, arrested or just socially ostracised for something which is progressive. Blackface is no longer people performing a caricature. It's just trying to get a little closer to that person on the TV screen. We already do it. Makeup exists. You are socially allowed to adjust every feature on your face, even the skin tone. We as a society accept this already. You just can't go too far past your own. By whose standard, who knows. Come on guys, let's fix this together.